drafting our syllabus, okay, in which syllabus is also very important before we can start developing or crafting our course materials or instructional materials. So as I am chair, okay, I am tasked to discuss or to have a review lang of the important things that we need to remember in writing or developing our course materials or instructional materials. Okay, so natakal na this morning ang pag-craft ng objectives, okay? Those are very important because we cannot start with writing course materials without our course syllabus. Okay, so here in our academy, in the whole university in general, we faculty really are encouraged to have or to craft or develop our instructional materials. So not only for the sake of this high flex na schedule that we will be utilizing the platform LMS, but of course, another reason for this, why we need to really have a skill and a background in writing instructional materials or course materials, because another reason for that is for the purpose for our promotion also. In NBC 461, I know that before meron na nakagain ng points because of their instructional materials, but there are processes that we need to consider before ang ating instructional materials ay makagain tayo ng points. So I will show you later kung ano yung mga we need to prepare, okay, before you can have points for the promotion. Okay, so ang task sa akin ay to develop daw a suitable daw na course materials or instructional materials. So why suitable or really suited to the, is it suited to the kind of students or learners that we will be handling? Kung saan man yan under na department or program, to the level of learners that we will have, or the kind of setup in the academy, especially this time that we will be adapting ng high flex na schedule. Okay, so always consider our kind of students or learners, okay, and the kind of setup or situation that we will be facing this time in the academy. And of course, we will be using the platform na LMS, okay? So suitable daw or really suited to the kind of students and the situation. So instructional materials that we will be producing should be relevant. So before that slide, Ma'am Cass, is we need to remember that it should be relevant to the kind of students and to the current situation, as like what I have mentioned. Okay, informative, also ang ating type ng instructional materials, but of course, informative, but not everything should be there because we can provide a link or site naman, or we can provide references wherein students naman later could refer to in order for them to have the further understanding of the content that you have presented in your course material or in your instructional material. So concepts, important concepts should be there, okay? Important terms should be there in your discussion. But of course, not everything should be there na lahat-lahat ng discussion, because you can still have link. I will show you later the example na link lang ang doon, and then that will direct to kung saan nila makikita ang activities or task or additional na discussion, okay? And then that should be interactive. So ang approach interactive on the part of the students, mga activities natin, okay? And appropriate to the kind of students that you have, and accurate. That is why meron tayong evaluation of our instruction, because we need to consider accuracy in the content and everything. Okay, friendly also to use for instructional purposes of your learners. Okay, So again, IM's production here in the university, in Aklan State University, Ibahay campus is considered as vital in the development of the university. Okay, so we are not only as to refer only to open educational resources and use that, but of course to craft our own, but use that open educational resources and other resources to be used in our own compiled, o pwede natin matawag lang na compilation yung natin last time, because content is only taken from the different naman na online or printed resources. Okay, ang problem natin in IMs natin na production is the time. Kung gusto talaga natin na ang ating content and activities is really crafted by the faculty, tinatawag natin na IMs, ang tinatawag nito, tayong faculty na talaga na ang mag-create ng mga activities. So ang problem natin ay ang time. That is why last time yung na-evaluate natin is just a compilation of the activities and the concepts discussed. Okay, so vital in the university for our students and of course for our future also naman na sa ating faculty for NBC 461 for our promotion. Okay, next slide po, Ma'am Cass. Okay, so instructional materials or IMs or course materials are considered as educational resources used to improve students' knowledge, abilities, and skills, to monitor their assimilation of information, and to contribute to their overall development and upbringing. So that is why in our instructional materials, so we need to consider, we will discuss there in our module or materials the important really na concepts, and then develop their skills and abilities through our activities or tasks provided. Okay, so not only one activity or task, but activities that scaffold learning that we can really have later, tinatawag na ensuring understanding on the part of our students or learners. So meron dapat hindi lang mga activities or tasks, pero dapat meron din na tayo na activities that mga performance tests. Okay, but don't forget to attach, to include in your instructional materials the criteria or the rubric on how to assess the performance of your learners, okay, in that certain program. Kasi may mga cases na ang ating na-develop na instructional materials will be applicable to their previous na students. For example, nag-handle ka sa HM or TM, but this time is you have now your course in teacher education, for example, or computer science. So you need also to suit your activities to your kind of students and to their level. Okay, that should be relevant also to the kind of students or learners that you are handling already this time. So advisable for that is you can have other tests or activities naman to add. Okay. Next po, Ma'am Cass. Okay, what are the things that you need to remember in crafting or developing our course materials or instructional materials or IMs? Okay, so first, instructional materials or IMs should have the clarity of important concepts. So that is why in your content, doon na discuss ang important concepts under your top or your topic for the certain, for example, na unit, okay, or for that lesson. Kasi it is advisable na we need to divide naman our modules, na hindi lang one na for example, upload doon natin sa LMS, but of course it should be at least five na modules, which means in each unit is you have the one module. Okay, if we will adopt the high flex on the blended na learning. We have that before in the LMS. For those na nag-utilize na ng LMS is nandoon yan sa instruction na by ano siya, by unit. So, for example, module 1 is your unit 1. So, yun lang ang makover doon. Okay, but of course, for that unit is you need to discuss there the important concepts. Okay, kung meron ka pa mga additional na information na you would like to advise to your students na basahin is you can give there in your module directions or provide link. Okay, second, could arouse and sustain students' interest. Okay, so may mga techniques sa paggawa rin ng module. Yung sa title natin, hindi lang basta-basta na you will have their test 1 and then direction. You can invent or you can think of the title for your tests. Okay, magaling tayo dyan to think either sa English man or sa Filipino of what will be the title for this test 1 or test 2. For example, they will research for this. You can think na Google in mind. Okay, so yun ang isa. So inventa, be creative in thinking of the title and the activities or the test. So students will only be interested if that, for example, activity is relevant to our students naman or learners. Okay, third na you need to consider is give students the opportunity to share experiences necessary for learning and help make learning more permanent. So yun ang tinatawag, wala pa tayo ma'am Cass. Yun ang tinatawag na to have the enduring understanding, ang permanent na learning to our students. Okay, share their experiences, which means in this part, baka ma-misinterpret natin na they will write there yung mga written lang na test. But you can have here, ditong part is you can tests or activities naman na performance-based. So ang doon lang sa ating module is ang instruction. Ang clear dapat ang instruction doon. And of course, on how to assess their performance. So attach there or include there in your IMs the rubric for assessing their performance. So always remember that. So since we will now utilizing LMS dito sa to give our students the opportunity to share their experiences or their insights, for example, in our activity, if you will navigate our LMS, makikita natin dyan na sa mga ComSci na faculty and other faculty na naka-give na ng mga activities sa students. Na meron tayong discussion forum, diba? Last academic year, na-mention natin na i-include ang discussion forum for our course materials or course guide. Kasi yan na ay sa blended. So, since before, last academic year, I handled teacher education. So ang platform na gamit namin lang ay Facebook. Okay, so nandoon naman sa module instruction, pero ang questions and their answer ay doon sa comment section lang ng Facebook ng Facebook group. But this time, since we will be utilizing LMS now, may discussion forum doon. Pwedeng sa IMs natin doon ang instruction lang and our rubric in how to assess their performance kasi written siya, kung written task ang discussion forum. So doon dapat ang criteria at ang rubric. Okay? Kasi hindi ko pa na-navigate kung hindi ko pa na alam kung nandiyan sa LMS ay we can give score to our students sa discussion forum. I don't know about that. Sir Raymar, can we give rate sa students in our discussion forum? Kasi paragraph form siya.
Yes po, yes po. Ayan po yung isa sa mga activity natin po.
Okay, yan ang nakaligtaan ko last time kasi sir is I have my discussion forum for the computer science na students. Pero hindi ko alam kung paano bigyan sila ng ng score. That is why doon na lang ako manual ko lang ang scoring.
Apo.
Pero nandiyan pala sir. Yun ang hindi ko na
So,
nakaligtaan.
hindi siya automated, ma'am. Manual po yung pag-rate natin,
Ay,
ma'am.
manual din to.
Provided that you have your rubrics, ma'am, para
Okay,
guided yung
so
students.
yes, ang rubrics natin kasi mayroon pa rin tayong instructional materials. So doon pa rin siya sa ating instructional materials, and then instruction, and doon pa din ang questions na doon pa din. Pero ang answers na ang insights, okay, ng students for this activity kasi written siya ay nandoon na sa LMS. Okay, you can navigate later. Mas siya, mas detailed ang answer ng students kung nandoon sa discussion forum sa LMS, unlike sa Facebook lang. Am I right, Comsci faculty? Mas
Yes, ma'am.
detailed. Yes, so ayun.
Pag forum kasi, ma'am, hindi lang siya question and answer portion, but then
Yeah.
it is a venue for the students and faculty to collaborate with each other, no? To share idea and to validate ideas. So ayun po yung
Yes, exactly,
forum.
sir. Okay, but sa part ng ating students, ng ating learners, is for them to, pwede doon ang avenue for them to share their insights, their understanding of the concepts that you have presented in your instructional materials, in your module. Okay, and then pwede rin doon ang essay form kasi ng sharing of their experiences, in line pa din sa concepts that we have presented in our instructional materials. Okay. That will be exciting. Hindi natin isipin na negative agad ang pag-utilize ng platform. Kasi meron siyang marami ang advantages. Even if we have still our instructional materials, still ang instructional materials lang kasi is to be uploaded there. Doon ang mga discussion of the concepts, doon ang mga activities, but the answers will be there in the LMS. Okay.
Ma'am, excuse, ma'am.
Yes po.
In addition, ma'am, the forum promotes proper attitude or good attitude, no? So malalaman din natin yung mga etiquettes ng mga students natin kung meron silang proper etiquettes or wala. So in-encourage po namin na i-include po sa rubrics natin yung mga good attitude ng mga students. Kasi sa writings nila malalaman talaga natin kung properly manner sila or hindi. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sir Raymar. And in our instruction pala, I forgot sa discussion forum. Tama si Sir Raymar. Now, you need to really clarify right away to your students kung ano yung standard set by the faculty, kung ano dapat ang mga terms na hindi nila gamitin, what are the things that they need to avoid, okay, that they have to use this, for example, polite expressions or terms or words, and they need to avoid the mga harsh terms or words. So you need to clarify it right away to your learners. Okay, so yan ang advantage din na makikita natin sa pag-use ng platform. It is for faculty, for easy rin natin for retrieval of their tasks or activities, is rin na grading of their tasks and activities, and on the part din ng ating for example ng chair in each program, and department head and chair for academic affairs, especially is we will have now our accreditation is for evaluation and monitoring. I don't know if I'm right with that. Monitoring and evaluation. Yes,
Ma'am Jennie, in addition, yes, ma'am, related to your topic, no? Yes. So as a teacher, we have a power for the what we so call the disciplinary action per student, no? We can mute them or we can give them, for example, pwede po natin makuha yung students natin, tawag dito, masuspend, no? For a period of time pag meron silang nagawang mali. So as a teacher, meron po tayong power na i-discipline yung mga students natin in terms sa maling action nila. Okay po.
Pwede siyang ma-kick out doon sa sa ating attendance doon sa system.
Pwede siyang ma-unenroll,
Ma-unenroll.
pwede siyang ma-suspend, pwede siyang ma-mute, pwede siyang hindi siya makaparticipate. So marami po tayong mga disciplinary action in terms sa operation sa LMS po. So depende po sa ating policy within the classroom. Pwede po tayo gumawa ng policy. Ano yung sabi ni Ma'am Tintin kanina, na hindi lahat ng policy natin sa classroom ay uniform. So depende tayo mag-decide, tayo mag-design, no? So pwede po 'yon.
Thank you. And then sir, sa participation din pala is we can also have the idea if who are the students we consider natin na participative based din sa number of hours na they use, for example, na ginugol nila in doing their tasks or activities using the platform. Ga-reflect
Yes,
kasi
ma'am.
doon kung ilang hours or minutes. Tama, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Ma-monitor po natin. So, no need na yung attendance natin kasi mamomonitor natin kung ilang minutes sila pumasok sa classroom, ilang minutes yung binigay nila sa classroom sa mga ganitong araw, ano yung mga ginawa nila. So, mamonitor talaga natin yung kanilang activities.
Yes po. So, yun ang isa din sa mga advantages.
Tapos,
Monitoring and
in addition,
evaluation.
ma'am,
Yes po.
pag may mga group work tayo, pwede rin natin gawin yun sa LMS. May mga exclusive work. For example, meron kayong pa-contest na gagawin. So, gagawa ka ng exclusive group na activity. And then later on, ipapa-compete mo sila para medyo may exciting naman. Pwede pong ganong sitwasyon. Apo.
Yes po, sir. So, yun ang hindi ko pa na experience. Okay, so ang ating IMs expected na blended pa rin siya. Okay, kasi we are to adopt the high flex din na schedule. So not everything answers ng students sa activities should be there written manually in our instructional materials because we have now our LMS. Okay, ang next, what are still the other things that we need to consider? Please, Ma'am Cass, for the next slide po. Okay, so here, since in the university, we are encouraged to craft or develop our own instructional materials. So we have the privilege naman to design, to enrich, to assess, and utilize instructional materials for our students. Pero meron siyang sinasabi na provided that these kinds of learning tools have passed the review, evaluation, and approval for utilization. Okay, so ito ang hinahanap during the NBC 461, hinahanapan kayo ng approval for utilization of the instructional materials that each faculty has crafted or developed. So ang hindi natin natapos last time under my term as chair for IMs na ang review lang natin is part only of your IMs or instructional materials, pero ang for the finals na doon or the other part na hindi natin napatuloy na evaluate, okay, so that marilisan kayo ng approval for utilization. Pero ang part na yun na na-evaluate is na-utilize na-evaluate na write naman doon ang comments and suggestions and recommendations before, and then na-improve naman ninyo by program, kaya na distribute natin yun sa students during the pandemic time. Pero this last natin na semester, so yun ang pending task ko under my chairmanship as IMs. Kailangan ko yung tapusin so that you will have your certificate na approval for utilization, kasi yun ang hinahanap during the NBC 461. Okay. Pero meron tayong meron tayong suggested na format for our instructional materials. So merong flow or merong process for our instructional materials to be utilized in the university or in our campus. So, kailan madadaan mo na siya sa bago ang sa university is, of course, doon man na sa committee, sa program. Okay, meron namang mga content experts sa by program or by specialization. Okay, and by program, meron naman naka-assign. And then, bago i-accept ng college instructional materials working committee na for the evaluation for them to give na comments and suggestions. Then, kung ma-approve, kung for example, na-address na ang comments and suggestions, for example, that's the time na for them to utilize in the local, okay, or in the college, for example. So ito yung mga committee, meron tayong tinatawag CIMWC, College Instructional Materials Working Committee, meron din na Local Instructional Material Development Committee, and the university na, University Instructional Materials Development Committee. So we faculty are considered as IM's creators. Okay, so we have the privilege to design our instructional materials or course materials suited, okay, suited to the kind of students or learners that we have depending on the program, okay, that we are handling. Although, for example, nakahandle na tayo ng the same course, but in the other program is still you need to revisit pa rin ninyo at you still need to analyze pa rin whether that is applicable for our kind of learners. Okay. Okay, so meron based on the policy and guidelines for preparation, evaluation, and approval for utilization of instructional materials. So meron tayong kailangan na sundin. So let us have the preparation of instructional materials. Okay, so in preparation, what are the things, okay, what the faculty members should observe in the contents of our instructional materials? So first, be in conformity with outcomes of the course duly approved in the syllabus. So, hindi tayo makaproceed sa pag-craft or develop ng ating course materials pag hindi pa ready ang ating course syllabus. Okay? Hindi pa approved, hindi pa na-check ang ating course syllabus. So, kailangan, yun muna ang unahin natin because doon din nakabase ang ating mga activities and doon din nakabase ang ating course outcome or learning outcomes or objectives sa ating course syllabus na na-discuss ni Ma'am Tin only this morning. Reflect the university's okay. Okay, meron din na mga contents, okay, na you need to integrate din sa ating instructional materials, okay, and the values. Okay, so our instructional materials should support or enhance students' learning experiences by taking into consideration the different instructional needs, illustrative levels of the students served. So just like what I have mentioned already. Okay, the first thing in our mind is our students as we craft our course materials or instructional materials. So depende sa needs ng ating students, na kanilang abilities or skills, interest, and their level of maturity. So may tendency na ang ating completed na course materials, kasi nag-handle na tayo ng the same course, for example, may tendency na you still have to, again, is to check whether ang mga activities that you have provided there will be applicable to your kind of learners this academic year in that certain program, okay, even if you have the same course handled. Okay. Next natin, ensure that IMs encourage control and creative thinking. So that is why this morning, as what emphasized by Ma'am Tin, is we need to make it sure na ang atin din na objectives is ang learning outcomes din natin ay ang mga objectives sa higher order din. Ang level din ba ng ating objectives. So, go back tayo doon sa na-discuss ni Ma'am Tin kanina sa objectives. And of course, our test or activities, hindi lang more on objective lang siya na type. Okay? Meron din dapat tayo ng activities or tests own created by the IM's creator with the faculty na could really develop the critical and creative thinking skill of our students. So doon yan makikita sa ating tests and outcomes, learning outcomes. Okay, encourage development of skills in critical analysis and decision making. Okay, so this make it sure we need to make it sure that in our kind of materials prepared, we could really develop these skills of our students. So based din doon yan sa mga tests provided or activities. Yes, we need to observe cultural sensitivity in content and presentation. Okay, this is very important because this time we are now embracing multiculturalism. So we need to be sensitive then. Now wala tayong, for example, na naapakan na mga, for example, cultures. So we need to be very careful also with our content presented. Okay, and of course, contribute to the development of understanding of the current issues on society, gender, ethics, economics, politics, religion, and digital breakthroughs. So dapat ang ating content ng ating instructional materials din ay very relevant, up-to-date din siya. Okay, that these things that we have mentioned ay ma-incorporate din doon. Okay, so in our content, sa mga activities natin ito, kasi meron tayong mga tinatawag na springboard for our students for the test or activities. So we can also, pwede rin tayong maka-borrow na mga, for example, published na mga materials or text for our activities, but make it sure that the things that we have mentioned about these issues, about society, gender, ethics, economics, like any of this, ay pwede doon na matouch or matackle sa ating modules or instructional materials. Okay, kasi compilation na muna tayo kasi it takes time for us to recraft our own gid na for example na texts or materials gid for the certain activities or tasks na own create ba ng faculty. Pero I think if we have enough time for those nag-published gid na IMs, for example, in the future is mas okay gid na if you will craft your own materials, literary text, articles, or write-ups na your own created gid siya. Next po, confirm to the provisions of the intellectual property rights and ethics. That is why ang ating chair for intellectual IP chair natin ay kailangan din siya na part siya ng committee ng ating local na IMs na for evaluation. So, kasi in our instructional materials in this part is we need to consider here, we need to acknowledge the sources, okay? The sources or the references wherein we use in the development of our materials. Okay, even sa insight natin, in text natin na citation, for the evaluation of IMs, it takes really time kung i-check it one by one ang doon sa sa intent na citation or nandoon sa ating references. Okay, kasi iisa-isahin niya na titingnan if that is really the reference that you use for the certain part of your module. So it takes time, kid, if we have the rigid evaluation. Hindi lang siya accuracy of the content, accuracy in terms of grammar or words used, and the activities or the test, but of course din sa content din kung saan siya kinuha ang mga ang materials mo for crafting your instructional materials. Next po. Okay, provide a coherent and clear instruction sequence. This is very important. So doon sa IMs natin, it is very important na doon ay clear ang instruction. Okay, aside from the instruction is in how to rate their performance, especially kung mga performance-based, even sa mga written na mga activities na we will now utilize our platform. So doon dapat sa IMs natin naka-attach ang ating rubric. Okay, and clear instruction for the activities. Yes, provide all students equivalent given access and must not result in and to sorry po. Okay, so provide all students equivalent access and must not result in undue financial and administrative burdens to fail to meet other specifications for technologically driven IMs. Okay, so hindi naman ito problem this time for us because this will be accessible naman for all our students because they will be utilizing our platform. Okay, this will be uploaded naman in our LMS for them. Okay, but not the complete na, the manner na i-upload natin ang ating instructional materials, that is by module siya. Okay, module 1, for example, that is equivalent for unit 1. Okay, not the entire gauge siya na course materials or IMs. Okay, kasi ang IMs ay compilation na pwede na matawag na compilation of all the ano na siya, the instructional materials per unit. Okay, with at least 5 na siya. Follow the approved format of any of the instructional materials. So I will show you later ang proposed na pinapagamit na format for us in the whole university. Na meron, yun naman ang gina-follow natin. Okay? Pero ano lang siya, hindi siya everything will be there kasi ang akin ay blended. So pinapa-adapt din ang blended na format. Okay, next po, next slide. Okay, ito. Okay, this is very important for the to those ating evaluators, okay, committee to check the accuracy of information. Kaya kang gina-validate through your references stated in your material. So hindi lang accuracy in terms of structure, hindi lang accuracy. If we will have really a rigid evaluation, kaya nga sabi before is ang 1 week or weeks will not be enough, months gid if we really have the rigid evaluation. Okay, but I think this time is we can have, for the sake of this semester, is we can have the module 1 if it's okay for everybody. Ang module 1, which means equivalent for your unit 1. Yun lang muna ang i-prepare at i-evaluate. Okay, check kasi kailangan i-check ang accuracy of information, the language used, the images used, activities and exercises in the instructional materials. Especially kung ano na siya, recommend na to i-forward na doon sa university.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes po.
And then we have to include the unit 0, which is the BMGO in our module.
Separate siya, sir, separate siya na discussion, but in our content sa module, focus na tayo doon sa unit 1 natin.
Opo, kasi sa syllabus natin, required yata yung BMGO.
Required siya. So, separate. So, which means, pwede na tayo maka-start right away with our class, even without our ready pa na modules. Kasi meron tayong first natin na part ay doon ang discussion natin ng VMGO and the other pa na related na mga ano.
Pero sa akin, ma'am, include ko pa rin, ma'am, yung unit 0 sa module.
Doon sa module.
Complete.
Pwede naman separate siya. Pwede naman, sir. Pwede.
Okay po, noted po. Yung sa training po natin kasi unit 0 yung output na i-check natin. Later on kay Sir Kent, i-discuss niya yan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Week 1, unit 0. Thank you.
Okay.
Ma'am Jen, can
Yes
I
po,
back in?
sir. Yes, sir.
Oo.
Sir.
Relative to our BMGO, hindi naman kailangan na lahat ng ating mga courses will orient our students in BMGO. Siguro may I suggest that we will just present our BMGO to our first year students, no? Na mga general education, like for example, yung ating mga sa NSTP, hindi lahat ng ating subjects ay merong BMGO from the yung unit 0. So yun lang, no? I think we cannot may I suggest that we will not include that in our technical courses or professional courses, yung mga BMGO. We could incorporate it in our general education courses. I hope that that would be okay for all.
Sir Jerb.
Kasi paulit-ulit na lang yung ating paulit-ulit na exam iya imol karasara yung subject maase exam sa masunod nga to. So ro suggestion malata karon it to orient students. Agi na orient man naton do atong students at orientation at sa aton yung mga programs. So not necessarily that in all courses we will incorporate or include our BMGO.
Sir
Okay,
Jerb.
si Ma'am Tin at saka si Ma'am Maribel Bilorente po nag-raise ng hands. So si Ma'am Tin mo na first.
Okay. Na I remember na may memo na may ano nga niyo, met daw kayo sa revision ng guidelines and preparation, review and approval ng IMs na yon. So anong update doon? Kasi may memo ba ako nakita ka to sa information portal nga may revision nga kayo.
Ma'am Tin, kanino po naka-address yung question?
Sir Jerby. Sir Jerby, sir.
Sir Jerby.
Hello. Yes, relative to our IMC materials, nag-meeting kami last time and we will adopt the old guidelines. One of the problems raised in our meeting is that the policy or the guidelines is quite complicated. So gina-revise imaw and we had conducted benchmark activities in BATSU and KABSU. May andaman ito nga tawag karon simplified andang flow of approval of IMC and makaron ay ongoing man do benchmark ni atong Director for Curriculum and Instruction sa WebSU, no? And I hope na kung maka benchmark pa mo sa other SUCs, hay ma-revisit na aton nga IMC materials. Kasi what naga-submit nga faculty because very tedious gid aro aton nga process. That's why there are a lot of faculty members who are they are willing to write a book, but yung process of approval ay very talaga complicated. So yun yung work makaron at aton nga University Director for Curriculum to simplify our IMC materials preparation and approval.
Okay na po.
Okay, sir. So,
So we
I
will adapt,
suggest
Ma'am Tin, yung old policy, yung old guidelines, Ma'am Tin.
okay. I suggest also, Sir Jerby, kasi yung mga member ng ating local curriculum, local IMs committee nga to, may nagalibot, may so dapat siguro create that bago
Yes, we will have may mga changes of sa designation. So we will wait for the designations official nga anong gid-memo if mga designated faculty members, and once na in place na we will then review our IMC curriculum IMC committee para maging na siya, maging tawag dyan, ma-suit yun imaw sa new designations natin.
Okay naman, Pen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Proceed po tayo kay Dr. Villarente. May nag-raise po siya ng hand. Yes, ma'am. Villarente. Meron po tayong concern. Hello. Nag-raise po kasi kayo ng hand, Dr. Villarente. Or napindot lang. Baka napindot
Raising
lang.
my hand, Sir Raymond.
Ayan.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Sige, ma'am.
Thank you for the recognition. Just would like to emphasize na I agree with Sir Jervy, definitely 100% that the VMGO shall be included only to the freshmen sa first year. Although we review this VMGO in the higher level, but it should not be already put in our course syllabi. It's too elementary na paulit-ulit lagay pa natin, especially for professional subjects. Likewise, to Ma'am Jen, thank you so much for your enrichment in writing in the preparation of our course materials. But same with Sir Jerby, I hope that our IMC committee will be in place so that we can really produce publishable IMC. However, Ma'am Jenny, I think the format that you have presented to us is ideal for Gen Ed subjects because when it comes to professional subjects, no one can, I think, critique a professional course kung hindi ka naman talaga expert sa field na yan. Besides, kahit na meron tayong format, meron din tayong academic freedom. Ang hindi lang mababago dyan actually are our objectives. It must be same throughout as reflected in our course syllabi. But when it comes to strategies, methods, and designs in presenting the format, I think that will vary depende sa subjects. Kasi I have prepared already modules in our major courses, but it's not strictly limited to na nagsunod dyan sa format mo. Kasi it's more of Gen Ed yung na-present natin na na format. Although it is, as you have mentioned, na approved by the university committee, pero hindi pa naman siguro talaga agreed by the whole experts when it comes to writing and instructional materials. Ano ba yun, Ma'am Jen?
Yes po, Ma'am Bell.
Yeah.
Ang responsibility ng local committee for instructional materials review is to check the accuracy. For example, in terms, for example, of checking the objectives, whether pwede pa siyang ma-improve, na ma-met gid ang standard that will really follow ang na-discuss this morning for the learning outcomes or objectives. But in terms of the creativity in presenting the activities, is the faculty, they have now their freedom on how they will present or present the test or activities, especially we have naman different din na mga courses. So, ang i-check lang ng local IMs doon sa objectives, whether na conform siya doon sa objectives given or stipulated already in our syllabus, whether the same ba siya doon or baka iba ang objectives doon sa may instructional materials, and then iba naman doon sa syllabus. And of course, then i-check din ang accuracy of information. Just like, for example, in terms of the references reflected in our instructional materials or the in-text citation, yun ang, for example, ang ng test ng local IMs committee to check whether yung mga references na stated or reflected there is really used for the certain IMs. Just like din sa mga thesis or research din natin ng ating mga students or faculty. Okay, but for the creativity, we are encouraged to be creative in our different field in terms of the activities or tasks that we'll be presenting in our modules naman. Well,
Yeah.
yes
Kasi
po.
ganda sana pag meron tayong certain office ba na just like other universities na kahit wala pa tayong publishing capability, we have a room na makakakita tayo ng mga samples ng mga instructional materials developed by our faculty so that we can have, I think, a glimpse of what our colleagues had been doing in their respective courses taught for the semesters. At saka yung bang especially referencing. Oo, kasi
Yes.
I have noticed some faculty they just simply copy, download the PDF, and they declare it already as an instructional materials, but they are just simply downloaded materials. Now, parang yun sana para ma-inspire pa yung mga new faculty na to really come up with a goal na makapagsulat at makapag-publish, Ma'am Jen.
So what we had only last time, if we can notice, is we are more on compilation of materials lang. So yun nga, dapat ang i-ask ko whether it's okay ang compilation lang of the materials.
Yan nga ang sinasabi ko, it's simply compiled and simply downloaded na mga PDF. You cannot claim that as your instructional materials. You just simply borrowed these materials. Kaya kailangan makita mo talaga sa mga references and yung content, how it was written, na gumamit yung parang sa thesis ba, na just don't simply copy. Just simply download.
Meron siya dapat, it's required din in text citation. Not everything na, for example, that you have taken from the certain reference materials will be there. So ikaw pa mismo na creator or instructional materials creator ang mag-construct ng paragraph in your own naman way of discussion.
Yes.
Construction of paragraphs. So kaya i-check. Doon din ang part ng committee to check ang pag-structure ng content. And then pwede din gamitin doon ang tinatawag na in-text citation sa ating content, sa ating discussion sa paragraph format. Thank you so much, Doc Bell, for the insight.
Thank you, ma'am. Si Ma'am Christine Acanto parang nag-raise ng hand.
Okay, so in response, Ma'am Bell, actually our group who participated the phase 1 of CBOL, the sustainable blended online learning, are proposing to have a course material development committee composed of whole university for university level, composed of subject matter expert, reviewer, instructional designer or learner designer, multimedia specialist, editor, and copyright or legal officers. So actually, ipopropose namin ito kasi requirement to para sa aming phase 2 na training kasi we found out nga wala talaga kung sino lang yung available dyan sa department, siya na lang. So which is hindi makapokus yung committee. So nagiging half-baked talaga. So with this high flex na to, sana ma-materialize to kasi ito talaga yung need natin kasi we found out also na kaya sabi ni Sir Jerby kanina na konti lang talaga ang naano ng IMs ng university. So sana ma'am ito yung answer ma'am na yung committee na talaga ito talaga yung trabaho nila. So sana maano na to magiging okay na. Ano na to kay ma'am Nilet, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Tin. Okay, can we now proceed to the next slide, Ma'am Cass? Okay, so ito yun ang guidelines. This is taken from the old natin na policy and guidelines for preparation, evaluation, and approval for utilization of IM. So what the faculty should do once they are done with their IM. So meron tayong forms. Okay, so if we're going to really follow the process, you need to fill out the application form for IM's review and evaluation and submit that to the campus or college chairperson of the IMs, or you may write a letter of signification to have your IMs or instructional materials to be reviewed and evaluated by the local instructional materials development committee and address the said letter to the campus or college chair of the instructional materials. So in a process. So I will show you later the sample form. Okay, ang ating mga other faculty members, they have already their idea about this. They have already their copy of form on how to apply for their IMs to be reviewed and evaluated. Next po. Okay, another thing that you need to remember, ensure that the letter is duly noted by the chair of the department where the faculty members is filled, and if the department has the IM coordinator, the said coordinator will facilitate the endorsement of the IMs to the college chairperson of IMs for review and evaluation. So because of limited time last time is we collected na lang by program ang ating IMs for first natin na evaluation. Okay, by submit the soft copy, I think, of the IMs to the ating program chair, and then consolidate and submit also that to the IMs chair. Okay, and to the committee for evaluation. Secure also letter of acceptance from the chairperson of the IM. So ito ang next dapat. Okay, na meron, after you have submitted your IMs, meron din dapat na letter of acceptance. So may form tayo dyan. Next po. Okay, meron din tayong kailangan na meron tayong timeline in the process or processing of our IMs for evaluation and approval. Next po, Ma'am Cass. Okay, and after the evaluation, of course, meron tayong format also, wherein the committee will write there these suggestions or recommendations on local instructional materials development committee. And we did it last time. Now we have the summary. Before the summary, of course, is we have the form wherein we have there the list of the materials to be evaluated And then have their form wherein the committee will write each of their suggestions and recommendations for improvement if there is. And then that will be consolidated. So meron din tayong form summary na of all the materials already. Okay. I think that's the last, Ma'am Cassie. This time I will show you. Kindly show Ma'am Cass ang sample of suggested lang na IM outline. I have there the sample suggested outline
Ano
for
yung
our IM.
Jen?
Yes, po. Suggested po, Ma'am Cass, suggested na IM outline. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Cass. So, yan ang outline natin for that is now for the module or textbook na pwede nating i-convert siya to flexible learning material. So, if that is already completed, you need to have your cover page, preface, table of contents, inside content, okay, and then desired learning outcomes were taken from your course syllabus. And then craft your introduction. Okay, kayo ang mag-craft ng introduction. Okay, and then that will be followed by the mga activities. Ano na siya? Input, knowledge and skills, endorsement, digital, online readings, presentation. So after the introduction, since we will need to adapt ang blended natin is may mga online tayo na reading. So you need only to cite there ang link lang, okay, and then for activities, okay, and references. So may compilation din tayo. So what is advised is we need to have our module since blended tayo is module natin is by by unit, okay, kaya may tinatawag tayo na module 1, module 2, module 3, 4, at least 5 siya. If you have, depende sa number of units natin. Okay, because we need to divide that, because we need to upload it in our LMS by unit. Okay, not the entire natin na instructional materials, the compilation already. Okay.
Hello, ma'am. Excuse.
Yes po. Yes
Pa
po.
ako ng hand.
Yes.
Okay. Yung outline po ba natin, ma'am, pwede po ba nating ma-level up into guidelines para may idea kami kung ano yung ilalagay namin sa part 1, ano yung suggested, ano yung bawal para magawa po namin.
Yes po. Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Kung magawa niyo po, bigyan niyo po ako ng copy para ma-upload natin sa LMS para lahat meron silang guidelines. Mas maganda kasi yung guidelines para medyo guided talaga kami kung ano yung ilalagay namin. Thank you po.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Sir Raymore. Okay, so yan ang suggested natin na it is adapted lang from the proposed na guide ni outline from the university. According to Sir Chirby, meron pa naman na later na kailangan i-improve, i-revisit sa ating policy and guidelines for preparation, evaluation, and approval for utilization of our instructional materials. But for the meantime, I will follow this since we will be adopting a high flex schedule, blended learning. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. For the meantime, kasi kailangan natin habulin.
Yes po, sir.
Para baka paghintay natin dun, maka next sem pa yun ma-materialize.
Yes po,
For the
sir. So,
meantime, ma'am,
gawan ko
pwede
na
natin, ma'am,
sir.
i-level up muna to, ma'am, para guided kami pa.
Yes
Thank
po,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, let us now proceed. Sample, Ma'am Cass. Thank you, Ma'am Cass. Sa sample natin ng IMs na forms. This is for our faculty naman who are planning for their IMs later to be evaluated and approved and utilized. So ano yung mga forms? Although you have your idea already of this, so kailangan ito na mga forms for promotion. Okay, ito ang first natin na step is we need to have this form application. Ito ang sample letter for application for review, evaluation, and approval for utilization of our instructional materials. So you will write a letter, okay, stating your title of your instructional materials or your IMs to be reviewed. Okay, and then that will be used for what? For what program? For what, for example, course? And that will be submitted, okay, submitted to, ito pa, meron, okay, you need to indicate also your years in service in the college or in school. Okay, your signature, and of course your duly noted by your department or program chairperson. And this will be submitted to the IMs na committee, especially for local IMs chair. Okay, another natin na form na sample is for acceptance letter naman from the chairperson. Okay, so if you really have to follow this, so ito yung mga forms na kailangan i-accomplish. So acceptance, which means na-accept na ng local IMs committee, especially the chair for instructional materials. And then if for review na, or okay. If, for example, na-review na-evaluate na, and so ito na ay for the, this is endorsement, letter of endorsement to the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Okay, pag for example, na-evaluate na siya and na-approve na, for example, nakapasa na for sa standard based on the evaluation. That is director. And okay, ito yung mga samples na instruments. Okay, generic instrument for review, evaluation, approval for the use of instructional materials. So baka hanapin to during the accreditation or even endorsement of your IMs for utilization. Okay. So, Ma'am Cass, what you have presented ay mga samples, forms, okay, that we need to accomplish for the IMs, preparation, evaluation, and approval for utilization. Okay, so, yes po, may nag-raise.
Yes, ma'am, ako po.
Yes po.
Yung mga forms so, pahingi na rin po ako para ma-post natin sa LMS po later.
Yes po, sir.
Mas maganda sana ma'am kung meron po kayong flow tawag doon.
Flow for preparation, evaluation.
Yes, parang ganun po.
Yes po,
Para
meron din
guided.
kay Ma'am Cass po.
Sige, hingin ko na
Ma'am
lang ma'am
Cass,
para
you have your...
i-post
Yes,
ko
thank
dito.
you, sir.
Pwede ba namin makita ma'am ngayon? Para
Yes po, sir. Ang
may idea.
flow,
Ayun. Sige po. Sige ma'am, ikaw ma-explain. Ma'am Jen, ikaw na po mag-explain. Hindi pa kami familiar. Thank you.
Yes po. Okay, so based on the forms that Ma'am Cassie has presented a while ago, okay, so after na, okay, after if you're done already with your or completed na siya na no materials, of course you will submit that materials to the doon muna dadaan sa department kasi meron naman tayong experts sa ating department, okay? Doon yan sa memo natin, meron tayong department na committee before is i-forward sa ating local IMs development committee. So by program mo na. Okay, Department Coordinator for Instructional Materials Development, or pwede rin na College Chairperson for Instructional Materials Development. Tapos i-endorse na yun after sa local IMs working committee na. Okay, for review, evaluation, and the decision whether kung mayroon pang mga recommendations, of course, ibalik mo na ang inyong instructional materials in order to incorporate the recommendations or the suggestions for improvement, and then ibalik sa ating afterwards sa ating local na IMs. Okay? Yan. So pag na-approve na-improve na, so pwede na siyang marilisa ng form na kanina na ipinakita, utilization of instructional materials. So ang form kanina. At ito yata ang hinahanap during the sa promotion in BC 461, am I right? For those na nag-submit na last time for cycle, ano yan, cycle 8. Tama ako, cycle 8 pa lang tayo, no? Okay, so yun ang hinahanap, ang form duly signed by the local IMs committee, especially the IMs chairperson. Okay, that instructional materials is already for utilization. So ito yung last time, 2020 pa ito, Ma'am Tin. So you're very correct, you're very right now. We need to have, kailangan na natin itong ayusin. Okay. May isa pa na memo na kasama doon ang ating, dapat ang ating IP natin na chair. Hindi ito yung recent na memo na doon ang ating, ito. Ito ba ang recent? Kasi may 2020 and 2021. Okay, it's very important na nandyan ang ating IP chair kasi as we have seen doon sa ating policy and guidelines na our instructional materials need really na ma-follow ang ating guidelines also and policies sa copyright.
Ma'am
Okay,
Jen,
yes po, Ma'am Tin.
siguro sa ating ma'am memo, ilagay natin dyan talaga ma'am, makikita yung designation ng IP ma'am, IP or
Yes po.
mga members ma'am,
Yes.
para kasi dyan sa una natong natin yung memo, hindi makikita kung sino ba dyan yung IP.
Okay, oo,
Halimbawa
ma'am.
si Ma'am Junior, halimbawa lagyan natin ng
Wala
chair,
siyang
IP,
siya na.
ganyan.
Yes
Para
po.
makita, halimbawa si chair,
Doc
sabi mo
siya.
si Baby Mana, ganyan. Thank
Yes
you
po,
ma'am.
Ma'am Tin. Thank you so much, Ma'am Tin. And that's all for the development of our course materials. I hope that clear ang mga things that we need to remember in preparation for our IMs or course materials, as well as the flow. Okay, and then since we will adopt the blended pa rin is later I will give guidelines for this to Sir Raymar. Thank you so much, everyone.